You're here because you want to get informed, fast, and get the whole picture. So let's dive straight in. We're looking at something really noteworthy today. Rolex. They've just announced a totally new collection for 2025. It's called the Land-Dweller.
Yeah, a completely fresh lineup from Rolex.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you sit up and pay attention. It's
You
well, it's
say-
not something they do every year.
Exactly. And what jumps out right away is this elegant sports look, the integrated bracelet.
And most people, their minds probably go straight to the Oysterquartz era, late 70s.
Right.
And yeah, that style was prominent then, but the actual story, it stretches back further. It's maybe a less talked about part of their history, but pretty important for this new watch.
It really is. And it feels like finding out your favorite band had this whole other sound early on you never knew about. I mean, Rolex was apparently fiddling with this integrated design even before the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak landed in '72.
That's a fascinating point. You wonder if they were part of those early conversations, shaping that whole luxury sports watch category.
Makes you think, right? While the Royal Oak obviously made a huge splash,
Undeniably.
Rolex's own early steps show they were definitely thinking along those lines too. And kind of paradoxically, the whole quartz crisis actually plays into this design story.
It does, yeah. Because, Rolex had a quartz watch way back 1970.
Reference 5100, right? The Texano.
That's the one. Using the Beta 21 movement, which was basically the first big collective Swiss effort for a quartz movement.
And even then, you saw hints of that integrated look. Very limited production, too, wasn't it? Like 1,000, maybe 2,000 pieces?
Something like that, yeah. Very rare today. And there's always that rumor floating around, never confirmed.
About Gerald Genta?
Exactly. That he might have had a hand in the 5100's design, which, if true, just adds another layer, doesn't it?
For sure.
But it's key to remember, Rolex decided, okay, we need our own quartz tech. They stepped back from that Beta 21 group.
Right, and spent the next, 5 years developing their in-house quartz movements.
But while that engineering work was happening, they didn't just pause on the design front. Because in 1975, they actually rolled out a couple of mechanical watches with that same integrated bracelet, sort of elegant sports feel.
Ah, okay. The Date 1530 and the Datejust 1630.
Precisely. Automatic watches, using their solid Calibre 1570 movement.
And these are the key precursors for the new Land-Dwellers look then.
Absolutely. These two are crucial. Both had that 36-millimeter barrel-shaped case, where the lugs just flow right into the bracelet, no separate pieces sticking out.
Oh, it's seamless.
It's the 1530 that had the smooth steel bezel, clean look, while the 1630, that was the Datejust version, it had the classic fluted bezel, but in yellow gold, that iconic Rolex look.
And the bracelets were distinct too, weren't they?
Yeah. The steel 1530 had a bracelet with single solid links, a design people might recognize later from the steel Oysterquartz.
Okay.
And the 1630, the two-tone Datejust, it had a flatter version of the Jubilee bracelet. Still 5 links, but much lower profile.
So even though those models weren't around for super long, before the Oysterquartz kind of took over that design space,
Right, relatively short run.
they really set the stage, visually speaking, for what we're seeing now with the Land-Dweller.
Yeah.
It's like they're picking up an old thread.
That's a great way to put it. Picking up an old thread. Think of the Oysterquartz Datejust, fluted bezel, flatter Jubilee. That's probably the closest visual memory for most people. So fast forward to now, the Land-Dweller. It's coming in a pretty full range, 40 millimeters and 36 millimeter sizes.
Good options there.
Steel, Everose gold, and platinum. And yeah, diamonds are an option on the bezels for the gold and platinum ones.
Okay, but let's zero in on maybe the core model. The 40 millimeter steel, no stones. What's the design breakdown there?
Right, good idea. So 40 millimeter diameter, and pretty wearable at 9.70 millimeter thick.
It's quite slim.
It is. And you've got that barrel shape that's definitely echoing those 70s pieces where the bracelet just integrates right in. And the fluted bezel is back, but with a slight difference. On the steel model, it's white gold, as usual for Rolex steel watches. Gold and platinum get matching bezels, but they say the fluting itself is more vertical than on a Datejust or a Day-Date.
Interesting detail.
Yeah.
Maybe makes it look a bit sharper.
Could be. A bit more modern, perhaps.
Yeah.
And the case finish is mostly brushed, very tool watchy in a way, but with polished bevels along the edges for that touch of light play and refinement.
Nice balance. Sapphire crystals front and back.
Yep, flat sapphire front and back. So you get a clear view of the dial, and importantly, that new movement we need to talk about.
And water resistance.
Solid 100 meters, twin lock crown, so, perfectly fine for daily life, swimming, that sort of thing.
Good to know. Okay, the bracelet. It's integral, right? They're calling it the flat Jubilee.
That's right. Still has that 5-piece structure like a traditional Jubilee. 3 narrow links in the middle, 2 wider ones outside.
But flat, as the name suggests.
Exactly. All the links have a flat top surface, and the finishing sounds quite intricate. Well, the center links are polished, and they sit just slightly raised. The outer links have a satin sort of brushed finish, but their edges are polished. And even the top edges of those outer links have a little polished chamfer, a bevel, lots of detail there.
Sounds like it will catch the light nicely. And they mentioned ceramic inserts.
Yeah, apparently where the bracelet connects to the case, there are ceramic inserts. For durability, presumably to prevent stretch or wear over time. Smart touch.
Definitely. And the clasp.
It uses the concealed folding crown clasp, so it looks almost seamless when closed. Keeps that flowing look.
But no micro adjustment, you said.
Seems not, at least not the glide lock or easy link type we see on sports models. Maybe some removable links for sizing, but no on-the-fly adjustment mention.
Okay. Something to note.
And on the Everose gold and platinum versions, they even put ceramic inside the links. For longevity, I guess. That's pretty high-end stuff.
Wow. Okay. Let's move to the dial then.
Yeah.
Also totally new, right? That honeycomb pattern.
Yeah, that's the first thing you notice. Gives it a really unique texture. Not something you typically see from Rolex.
And the finish changes with the metal.
Right. For steel and gold, it's a satin finish on an intense white dial. Platinum gets the classic Rolex ice blue, but with a sunray finish under that honeycomb.
Very cool. And the numerals, 6 and 9.
They're distinctive, open centers. Rolex says it's inspired by the Explorer and Air King numerals, gives it a modern, almost technical feel.
I can see that. And the lume.
Looks good. Applied markers, and the luminescent material seems to fill the entire length of the marker. Should be very legible at night.
Yeah, the hand.
Also new, very clean rectilinear straight lines, matches that modern aesthetic.
Okay, and one last detail. The flange.
Right, the angled ring around the dial edge. It's got a pad-printed minute track, but it's graduated down to the half second.
Half second. Wow, that's precise.
Yeah, shows they're really emphasizing the accuracy aspect, even on the dial design.
Okay, so the design is definitely a blend. Vintage cues, modern execution. But the real headline grabber, the thing that got everyone talking, is what's inside, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is huge news in the watch world. Rolex unveiled a completely new escapement called the Dynapulse.
Which is a massive deal. I mean, for anyone thinking Rolex just iterates slowly, this is a statement, right?
It's a huge statement about their watchmaking capability. They already have the Chronergy escapement, which is a highly efficient take on the Swiss lever.
Yeah.
But the Dynapulse is different. It's a move towards what's called a natural dual impulse system. And apparently it's built on the architecture they introduced with the 1908 Perpetual movement.
Okay. And this new movement is the Calibre 7135. Running at 5 hertz.
That's right, 5 hertz, so 36,000 beats per hour, a high beat movement.
So how does this Dynapulse thing actually work? They mentioned sequential distribution, silicon.
Yeah, so the key components, the escape wheels and pallet lever, essentially are made from silicon, which means great magnetic resistance, a big plus today.
Right.
The design involves a transmission wheel engaging 2 distribution wheels. These then activate an impulse rocker, and that's what interacts with the oscillator, the balance wheel, and hairspring.
Okay, so distribution wheels, impulse rocker. Sounds complex. What's the benefit compared to a standard Swiss lever?
The big difference is how the impulse is delivered. Instead of the sliding friction you get in a traditional lever escapement where parts push against each other, the Dynapulse relies more on a rolling contact. Think of it like gears meshing smoothly versus something sliding along a surface.
Oh, okay. Less friction.
Exactly. Less friction means less energy loss, which leads to better efficiency, potentially better stability, maybe even longer service intervals down the line, though they haven't claimed that yet.
Makes sense. And the oscillator itself, the balance assembly, packed with tech, too, I assume.
Yeah. They're claiming excellent resistance to strong magnetic fields, though no specific Gauss numbers yet. The balance staff, the axle for the balance wheel, is made from some patented Rolex-exclusive high-tech ceramic, also non-magnetic.
Ceramic balance staff. Wow.
And the balance wheel itself is made from a new optimized brass alloy. Apparently, this is the first time Rolex has used this specific alloy, again, focused on magnetic resistance and stability.
Constant innovation, even in the alloys.
Seems like it. And of course, you have the Syloxi hairspring. That's Rolex's silicon hairspring. For this movement, they've apparently reshaped the coils and made them thicker. The idea is increased rigidity, which helps maintain a consistent rate, isochronism, no matter the watch's position or how wound it is.
So lots of tech focused on accuracy and stability.
Mm-hmm.
And we can actually see it this time.
Yes. That's another significant thing. Sapphire crystal caseback. Not common on Rolex models outside Cellini or the 1908.
What's the finishing like?
Described as elegant. Similar to the 1908, so Rolex Geneva stripes and an open-worked rotor made of yellow gold should be quite nice to look at.
Definitely. Now, 5 hertz is a high beat rate. What does that do to the power reserve?
You'd normally expect a lower power reserve with higher frequency, right?
Okay.
But they're quoting approximately 66 hours, which is very respectable, almost 3 days.
That is good for 5 hertz. So that efficiency gains from the Dynapulse must be real.
It seems so. That, plus maybe optimizing the mainspring barrel, it shows the whole system working together.
Okay, so impressive tech inside. Where does this Land-Dweller sit in the Rolex world? And how much?
Right. Positioning. It's definitely not an entry-level piece. It's clearly positioned above a standard Datejust or Oyster Perpetual. Think of it as a more premium, maybe more technically advanced, elegant sports option.
Okay, and the prices reflect that premium positioning.
They certainly do. The steel model, reference 127334, that's listed at 15,350 euros.
Okay, quite a step up from a Datejust 41.
Definitely. Then the Everose gold, reference 127335, jumps to 47,400 euros.
Wow.
And the top end, the platinum version, reference 127336, that's 64,200 euros.
Serious territory.
Absolutely. These prices put it firmly in the upper tier, reflecting the materials for the gold and platinum, sure, but also definitely that new movement tech and the overall design complexity.
Makes sense. So, best place for all the details and variations is the Rolex website, I guess.
Yeah, Rolex.com will have the full breakdown, all the references, different dial options, if there are others, etc.
Okay, so wrapping this up. What are the big takeaways from this deep dive? We've got Rolex surprising everyone with a totally new collection, the Land-Dweller.
Yep, and it's got this really interesting design, merging sporty and elegant with that integrated bracelet.
But a design that actually has deeper roots in Rolex history than many might realize going back to the 70s, both mechanical and those early quartz pieces.
It's not out of nowhere, historically speaking. And then, bang! The technology, that Dynapulse escapement.
Right, a genuinely new piece of horological engineering from Rolex, a dual-wheel, silicon-based natural impulse system. Well, it's a major development.
It really underscores their commitment to pushing mechanical watchmaking forward, even alongside their incredibly reliable existing movements.
So it's this blend, isn't it? Vintage-inspired design language, but packed with thoroughly modern, even arguably cutting-edge watch tech inside.
That's a perfect summary. Which leads to maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Yeah.
Well, considering Rolex's history with integrated bracelets, even predating some icons, and now their clear commitment to serious mechanical innovation like the Dynapulse, what does this Land-Dweller signal, about where luxury watch design and technology might be heading next? It makes you wonder about their future direction, doesn't it?